Up next on Veteran on the Move, I'm talking with Jay Lucas, who's doing some great work with a nonprofit organization called Children of Fallen Patriots. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Veteran on the Move. If you're a veteran in transition, an entrepreneur wannabe, or someone still stuck in that JOB trying to escape, this podcast is dedicated to your success. And now, your host, Joe Crane.
The top 7 paths to freedom is my free gift to you for listening to the show, featuring 7 great ways for a veteran to take their first step into the exciting world of entrepreneurship. To receive your free gift, go to veteranonthemove.com, or if you're listening on a mobile device, you can text the word veteran to 38470.
Jay Lucas serves as chairman and managing partner of the Lucas Group, a strategy consulting firm that he founded in 1991, focused on the specialized needs of private equity investors and their portfolio companies. He's a strong supporter of our veterans, leading the effort in New Hampshire for Children of Fallen Patriots, an organization devoted to making sure that every child who loses a parent in active military service can have their education paid for all the way through college. Thus far, Fallen Patriots has helped more than 700 surviving military children pay for their education.
All right, Jay Lucas, welcome to Veteran on the Move. Thanks for being here today. We're looking forward to hearing your entrepreneurial story. Before we get to doing that, why don't you take us back a little bit? I understand you're not a veteran. You haven't been in the military. Certainly not a requirement to be on the Veteran on the Move show, but talking before I hit the record button, I understand you do have a son in the U.S. Navy, so I'm a fellow naval aviator myself. So why don't you take us back a little bit and tell us about your background and where you're coming from and what you've done in business.
Sure. I'm from a small town in New Hampshire, a town called Newport. And my background in business really is mostly as an entrepreneur. I started my career at Bain & Company, a consulting firm in Boston. I was there for a number of years.
Wait, is that the same one?
Yeah, it is. It's Bain. It's the Bain & Company where one of my partners in the early days was Mitt Romney.
I thought so. Okay. Great.
And I joke that, for many years, people didn't really know much about Bain, but then all of a sudden, back in 2012, I think everybody knew something about Bain. But it was a great experience for me. And subsequently, I started my own consulting firm, working mostly with small and mid-sized businesses, helping them grow, called the Lucas Group. And then over the past few years, I've spent most of my time helping small brands, entrepreneurs who create brands, largely in the personal care products businesses like skincare and hair care and cosmetics and other brands, helping them grow. Because I find that entrepreneurs really appreciate being able to work with someone who can not only bring capital to the equation, which is obviously critically important, but also someone who has experience building businesses and who's done it several times. And so I bring a team of industry experts and others to bear to try to help these entrepreneurs. But it's an awful lot of fun. And I know you've been involved in the building of businesses and around that. And the spirit of entrepreneurship is really a special thing.
Absolutely. And the thing that I was a Marine for 24 years, and I was fascinated with entrepreneurship and people that ran businesses. And I, secretly on the side in the nights and weekends, I spent most of my time reading books about business and entrepreneurship and personal motivation and all that, more so than I was reading my tactics manual or my NATOS manual. And it was always something that I tried to jump in and dilly-dally and dabble with different things over many years, some to varying degrees of success. But then a deployment would come up and I'd be gone for 6 months, or we'd go to CAX in California for 3 weeks or here and there. And I could never really get any traction, and what progress I would make would fall apart once I was gone for a long time. So when I finally retired, I just kind of jumped in with both feet, so to speak. And ultimately my initial experiences in my last couple of years before I retired was really the reason I started this podcast, because I discovered there's so many great people, programs, and resources out there a lot of them specifically tailored to help veterans and family members start their own businesses. And that's why I started the podcast. And it's, one of those rules of unintended consequences was being able to hang around other like-minded entrepreneurial type people. And that in and of itself right there makes it all worth it to me. It's not even really about the money. It's being able to hang around folks that like the entrepreneurial process. They're always thinking of the next big thing. It's just, it's really empowering and invigorating to be around those types of people as much as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
It's really one of the great side products of running a podcast where I interview entrepreneurs.
Well, what I was going to mention is that you've just described, a large slice of my life in the sense that what I spend an enormous amount of time doing is being with entrepreneurs, with people who have started businesses. And as I mentioned a moment ago, our primary focus right now is on personal care products and beauty products and skincare and hair care. And so if you can picture walking into a CVS or a Target or a similar store and going into that whole section where you see various personal care products like shampoos and skin conditioners and such, and then thinking of all the potential products and brands that could possibly go on those shelves. All those creative ideas are ideas that entrepreneurs, I'm dealing with those entrepreneurs every day, and they have phenomenal ideas from organic and natural and effective and scientific and just a whole plethora of things. And what we find is that, just having this continuous percolation of good ideas and energy, interesting entrepreneurial ideas around that whole space is just energizing to everybody. And then one of the primary areas where we're helpful is you can imagine an entrepreneur comes up with a good idea and begins to get some traction, and they get to some sales and they get some placement. And then sometimes lightning will strike. And it doesn't always strike. They're working really hard. But if it does strike in that kind of business where you built a brand, typically it's some large retailer, some channel retailer who's got a large chain or network of stores, comes to that brand and says, wow, that's a fantastic brand. We want to put you in 500 stores or 1,000 stores. And right at that point, that's probably one of the most difficult, it's a wonderful thing for the entrepreneur, because he's been working for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. This is his lifetime dream. But at that point, he two things. One, he doesn't generally have the capital or anywhere near the, maybe totally out of cash. Maybe he borrowed the money to start the business, hasn't paid his vendors, and all of a sudden he's got this massive opportunity, but he's got to come up with a lot of capital to build out inventory, to support the brand with advertising and marketing. But at the same time, so that's one problem. But the other problem is typically he or she has not ever done this before. So there's a whole language of working to kind of get to that next level. And so that's where we come in, and that's what's been so much fun, because we have been able to kind of help them get to that next level, both with capital and really more importantly, in a lot of ways, with the experience to deal with that next generation of opportunity. But so what you're describing is really a fun place to be.
Yeah, and in the last year or so, I've got several friends that are in the private label business on Amazon, creating their own products and selling them on Amazon. And my wife have a couple of her own products that we're marketing on Amazon also. And I plan to try to figure out a way to incorporate that more into the show in the near future as I gain some success on that. But the biggest problem, and I've got friends that are farther along than we are, the biggest problem they all have is coming up with the cash to buy the product to have it in stock. I mean, they'll be floating $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 worth of inventory over to China or whatever, and then as soon as they get it in, they're sold out in a month or two, and then they go out of stock, which is like the worst thing you can ever do when you're on Amazon.
Sure.
And it takes another 3 weeks or a month to get more in stock, and they play this game, and then they start looking outside for whether it be investors or a cash infusion in order to keep but that's the biggest problem that Amazon sellers that hit it big They all have that problem of, where am I going to get the money to fund all this inventory? So
it's such a great point. And they probably, it's very hard for them to anticipate that. So many have not really thought hard about it. But even for those who have, the truth is that there aren't really very many organized places to go for the capital. It's a market that's tremendously underserved. And so we like being in that market because we can participate in it and we can really help these entrepreneurs kind of get to that next level.
Yes. And so what is the name of the company that you're working with or that you are right now that's doing this? Is it actually a formed entity?
Yes. There are two companies that I've developed over the years. One is my Lucas Group consulting firm,
sure,
which is at lucasgroupinc.com. But then I also have founded a private equity fund and firm called Lucas Brand Equity. And Lucas Brand Equity, we currently are investors in and own nine portfolio brands. The largest of those, that probably the only one that listeners will have seen or really have much name recognition on, since the others are a little bit smaller, is a brand called MD Complete, but MD Complete. It's a skincare brand that you'll find distributed nationally. We're in about 1,000 stores at Target, about 5,000 stores at CVS. It's an incredible product. It's sort of dermatologist quality skin care at 1/3 to 1/4 the price. It's an amazingly effective product. But there again, it was two entrepreneurs who brought that to us, and we've just been very, very happy, and the brand appears to be very, very successful.
Okay, so I have to ask, can you walk us through a real quick Shark Tank version of, and you can just use hypothetical examples if you like, or real examples, but if we're a couple of entrepreneurs and we've got some kind of product, in your case, probably some kind of skincare product in that arena, we come with you, and typically what is our problem? And typically what is the solution that you guys will have to fix that problem?
What we're looking for from the entrepreneur, so picture yourself on Shark Tank, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The key things that we're going to look for in that pitch or that presentation, number one, we're going to want to know what's different about the product that you're bringing. Two, what's unique about it, because it's a very cluttered market and you really do have to be unique. And then third, what's better? What really makes this product better than anything else that's on the market? Those are really the three key things that we're looking for the entrepreneur to bring. And then that's from a product perspective. And from a business perspective, we've also got three elements that we think are critical, all of which we can help with. One is what I just mentioned, the product itself. Two is the capital, and that's where we really do step in. And then third is the management. People say that there is, you can have a great product, but if you don't have management, you can't be successful. And really, the reverse is also true. You can have an okay product sometimes, but superior management can really make a huge difference. And entrepreneurs come to us with certain skill sets, but they typically will not have all of the skills that are required to kind of take that business to its full potential. And so we look at the capabilities of that manager, that entrepreneur, and then what we try to do is not replace it, but try to support it, buttress it, become a force multiplier for that entrepreneur. Those are the real critical things we bring to the party, and how you try to be successful in this business.
Now, how often do you find yourself, obviously the product and everything's got to be there, but how often do you find yourself willing to invest or work with an entrepreneur because of who they are? Meaning, you hear this saying mentioned a lot in the angel investor circles, is most of the time they're investing in the individual or a couple individuals that are behind the whole thing.
You're making a good point. We look for the passion, and the passion that's balanced by a pragmatic perspective on the world. It's also great if you can point to something in your entrepreneurial experience that says, I've either done this before, or I've had experiences that give an indication that I can be successful at this. That really helps us a great deal. But I would say that going into any of these situations or investments, there's almost no product that starts out being perfect, and there's no situation that's perfect. And even those that look really good when they start, there are problems. There are problems that occur, some of which you have control over, some of which you really don't. And the problems that you don't have control over are things like if you're working with a retailer and the retailer decides to put your product on the shelf at a certain level, but it's not enough to stay on the shelf, so you have out of stock problems. Or if they've told you that they're going to promote your brand, but maybe the brand manager at that retailer switches during the time from when you started to when you get your brand on the shelf, and they're not promoting it. There's so much, maybe your goods don't show up on the ship at the right time, or there are any series of problems. What we find is the key differentiator is the manager, the entrepreneur who can identify those problems early, who if it's his or her fault, admits it really quickly, and gets into the whole business of corrective action, suggests changes, takes action. That whole ability to be insightful and aggressive and take the initiative is really what differentiates some of the successful entrepreneurs versus those that aren't as successful. And those are the people we like to work with. We know that everybody's going to make mistakes, and that's fine. It's what you do to correct those mistakes that really makes the difference.
Now, Jay, I think you perfectly described why veterans make great entrepreneurs, because those soft skills that a lot of veterans possess, and often say the reason veterans make great employees are many of the same skill sets that make veterans great entrepreneurs. They will zero in and find problems. They will fix the problems. And if they're the ones that made the mistake, or they'll find who made the mistake, and they'll identify it and provide immediate corrective action, and then move on. And I think that's that's the skill set that a lot of veterans have. Those veterans that want to get into entrepreneurship need to recognize that with themselves. So I don't know how much experience you have dealing with veteran type entrepreneurs, but I wonder if you could provide any insight with that, because I'm really trying to push this message home to everybody that's listening. If you're somebody that's in the military and you're thinking about getting out, and or you're in the middle of a transition, or maybe you didn't like where you landed, and you really, really want to run your own show or start your own business, don't really know where to get started, not sure if you have the confidence, these soft skills are the things that you have. And it's these soft skills that can be vital in running a successful company.
You are so right. And I have deep...
I'm glad, because I went way out on a limb there.
No, you are so right. I have deep personal experience with this. And it comes from the consulting firm that I founded a number of years ago called the Lucas Group. And in that firm, our principal capability over the years has been, we've been helping businesses with their strategies for growth and how to become more profitable, accelerate their profits and their growth, et cetera. That's been really our focus. And in the past several years, I've been joined by two partners who both are U.S. Naval Academy graduates, so veterans from the U.S. Navy, fantastic guys who've gone on subsequently to have significant and successful tenures in business before joining the Lucas Group. And together, they, along with the capabilities we brought prior, have developed an approach to executing strategies. So now we not only think we're pretty good and maybe great, hopefully great, trying to be great at developing strategies. But now we have this implementation or execution set of skills that's absolutely what you just described. It's how you work with an organization and help them develop these abilities to adjust, abilities to identify problems as they're developing, sometimes before they're happening. Take a not a fault view of things that are occurring, but as a how to fix view of things that are occurring. And it's that flexibility, the soft skills you just mentioned, that are absolutely critical. And so these two partners of mine together have developed a programmatic way to institute these into companies, which is very much sort of the veteran skill set. The product or the service they've code named or abbreviated as CHAMP, CHAMP, but really to stand for, that's an acronym that stands for Change Acceleration Management Program. And so that is how you accelerate change. It's the soft skills of veterans bring. That I think there is a problem or an issue here, which is that I think the civilian population that hasn't experienced this doesn't fully appreciate those soft skills of veterans. That they don't have visibility.
Well, I really think, and it's not just the civilians. I really think the veterans themselves sell themselves short. They don't understand, since a lot of their skills don't, quote, translate to the civilian sector. Then they don't recognize that they have these skill sets, these soft skills, those things that are kind of hard to put a finger on, like leadership, determination, motivation, the ability to pull teams together, the ability to do it whether it's raining, snowing, tired and hungry. All those things are kind of those intangibles, but yet so valuable skills that are hard to find.
Yes, and in fact, I'd say there are probably three aspects of it. The veteran doesn't fully appreciate his or her great skills. The civilian population doesn't fully understand it either. And the bridge between the two, the communication of those skills to the civilian is imperfect as well. So it is a problem, but it's one that can be addressed, and there's great potential there.
So as far as your Lucas brand equity, if anybody's listening to the show and they wanted to find some more information on that, or possibly approach you with an idea, is there a way that they would find you and submit that or get a hold of you?
Sure. Please, I can be emailed, and my email address is fairly simple. It's the letter J followed by my last name, which is Lucas, Lucas, at Lucas Group, Group, Inc., Inc.com. So jlucas at lucasgroup.com. And please feel free to. I'm always love to hear about new ideas and whether we can be directly helpful or just potentially give advice. We'd love to do that.
Okay, and I want to take a quick break for a second, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the nonprofit that you're involved in, which is Children of the Fallen Patriots. So hold on just a second. Be right back. Have you joined the Veteran on the Move Facebook group? I personally invite every guest that I have on the podcast to join the group. So the Veteran on the Move Facebook group is a great way to connect with previous podcast guests. Our Facebook group will keep you in touch with other veterans that are transitioning to entrepreneurship, and you will also get great updates and free guides on the people, programs, and resources that will help you in your transition to entrepreneurship. All right, we're back with Jay Lucas, and we've been talking about entrepreneurship and business in his company, Lucas Brand Equity, and some of the other things he's done in the past. But we do want to take a few minutes to talk about the nonprofit that you're also involved with, Jay, which is Children of the Fallen Patriots. So can you tell us about that?
Sure. Children of the Fallen Patriots, Fallen Patriots for short, is an organization that is dedicated 100% to a very specific mission. And that mission is for any child who loses a parent in active military service, we take care of their education all the way through college or vocational school or whatever is going to prepare them to get out into the workforce, lead a productive life, and really reach the potential that fallen parent would want them to have achieved. It's a phenomenal organization. And it's one that I must say is not really very well known. It's been in existence now since the early 2000s. It was founded by a friend of mine, David Kim, and his wife Cynthia. David is a graduate of the West Point. He was down in the origin of the foundation is that he was down in Panama, lost a platoon mate in the struggles against Noriega, and that platoon mate had a daughter who was not yet born. And David wondered what was going to become of that daughter, what would the future be, and other children like that. And so in the early 2000s, he and Cynthia created Children of the Fallen Patriots that's had this very focused mission, ever since its founding. And, and we're proud to say is amongst the, very best organizations in terms of taking as close to 100% of the dollars that are contributed and putting those dollars to right directly to the education of those children.
Yes, what a phenomenal idea and a great organization. I know there's a couple other organizations that do, I think, about the same thing, where they make sure the children of the fallen actually receive an education, college education. I understand since its beginning, you've funded over 700 children all the way through college.
That's right. We've helped. It's close now to 750 children that we've helped so far. What's really interesting in this to me and is kind of astounding is the number of children in the population who are actually eligible. When we began looking at this several years ago, trying to identify the full number of kids out there, we went through a systematic effort. What we learned is that over the last number of years, the children who either are eligible now or will become eligible because of the wars that we've been in, principally since 9/11, there are almost 20,000 of those children out there, and there's no central directory, there's no central repository or database that's going to, give you that number or be able to identify them. So one of the struggles we have is piecing together the network, the fiber of just who are they, so we can reach out and help them. It's a constant struggle on our part. And so as listeners may know of children who are in that situation or families that have suffered the loss of a parent, that is information we would love to have. That's very valuable information to us because we won't turn any child down who falls into that situation.
So real quickly, while we're talking about it, if you know of somebody who, I mean, what is the criteria if a child's parent died while on active duty or died while overseas, or what is the specific criteria?
The specific criteria is that it's certified as killed on active duty by the Defense Department. But essentially, it includes training accidents, it includes combat, obviously, but also suicides. And it can happen while you're on active duty. It can happen while you're in reserve and training. It's a very wide net that we try to spread here, so we can be as inclusive as we possibly can.
Wow, that's awesome. So, if you're listening to this, you know of a child or some kids that might be eligible for your program, how would they get a hold of you and start that process? Well,
one way is certainly, please feel free to email me directly at the email address I gave earlier, the JLUCAS, JLucas at Lucas Group Inc., INC, lucasgroupinc.com. But the other way is simply to go to the site, go directly to our site. And the easiest way to do that is to go to fallenpatriots.org. So just as easy as it sounds, fallen, Fallen, patriots.org. And that's our central website. It's our repository of information. And if if you reach out to that website, you'll be able to. It'll be very easy to navigate and figure out how to be in touch with our team, which is a phenomenal team that is there to help and to serve. And by the way, we not only take care of. It isn't just about taking care of educational expense. Our team is there from the moment that someone loses their life, and we're right there to help the family. We're reaching out to them as that child or children mature and become older. We're trying to do all we can. We're providing counseling and trying to provide information about different educational options as they go forward. Obviously, during college or education, by the way, we not only take care of the tuition, we also will take care of health insurance. We know that computers are important. It's everything that child needs to be really, really successful. And then it doesn't stop there. Once they've graduated, we're also trying to help them find a job. And so there are a number of organizations that are supportive, a number of the financial institutions, but also one I like a lot is there's a company called Vineyard Vines. The Vineyard Vines, a retailer whose two founders had lost their parents when they were very young and have been involved trying to help and have employed some of the graduates of our program. So we're there to help, from the very beginning all the way to through maturity. And
do you happen to, you said over 750 children, do you happen to have a dollar figure associated with that?
Yes. As we were just very successful in our most current annual event and giving. So the organization is up to about $12.5 million so far that we've raised and been able to use to help children. It's a phenomenal organization. We've been now, of course, that's over a period of since the early 2000s, so more than about 15 years now. As you're building an organization, and I credit David and Cynthia, they're really the heroes here. It's a lot of work to kind of get to the place that the organization has gotten to so far.
12.5 million. Wow, that's phenomenal.
Big number.
Obviously, you say it was a lot of work to get to that level, but I find it interesting. Would you say that it's actually been more work trying to find the kids that are eligible than it is to actually raise the money?
I would say that there are three key components to this, all of which are, they're work, but I don't think if you ask David or Cynthia, they wouldn't say that it's work. It's a mission, and the large momentum and number of people who are now very supportive don't consider it work either. But there are at least three core elements of the effort. One clearly is the raising of money, and that's never easy. It's not one of the fun things that most people like to do in to ask other people for money. But it's a great cause, and it does require dollars. And we've just been very, very thankful and grateful for the generosity of people who've given to the cause. But that's one. The other two are, as you mentioned, finding the kids, and I'll give you a third one in a moment. But finding the children is actually not easy, and that's why one of the great, we're very thankful for you and for this opportunity on the podcast to get the word out about us a little bit, because it helps find children, and that's just a very valuable thing. Sometimes I think of Children of the Fallen Patriots as the greatest cause you can possibly ever imagine. At the same time, it has almost no name recognition, no public visibility, and so getting that word out is important generally, but also for finding children. And then the third is it's working with the schools, finding the schools that are going to be the right places, the right environments that are give the opportunity. Sometimes we'll give some money, but also you want to have a supportive community for these children who've suffered a loss. You want them to be successful. And so working with the schools. So it's the dollars, the kids, and the schools, and you put that combination together, and that's a dynamic combination that can help really change lives. It changes lives. That's really what this organization is all about.
So you actually try to work with some of the schools that are going to be involved in the process. It's not, obviously, if a kid wants to go to a particular school, usually you'll support that, but you obviously get involved sometimes in choosing the schools or working with the schools to get them to, either provide partial scholarships or ensuring that the right community exists for these kids. I mean, that part's really going the extra mile there.
Well, it is, and it's another one of those elements where building awareness is so important. So we're creating awareness on some of these campuses. But the first part of what you mentioned is so very true. It really doesn't matter what school that child chooses, because we're going to support that child. That's really what's going to help them get on their way to be successful in their mission. We're going to support them going to that school. Because that's the most important thing. And so, we're proud. There have been graduates of a number of schools in our program, but they're not all 4-year colleges. They're vocational programs. They're whatever's going to be most appropriate to meet the needs of that child. And so that's what makes us so that creates the gratitude and the feeling of accomplishment and giving something back on our part. And I think that's what a number of our contributors also feel. It's seeing the impact, the personal impact on families. When it's become very clear to me. I've spent, since you mentioned earlier that my son is in the U.S. Navy. It was an interesting story as to how he got there, but it's really opened my eyes in a lot of ways. He actually is a graduate of Yale. He went to Yale and studied economics. And I thought for sure he was probably going to go to Wall Street. That seemed to be the logical career path.
Right.
But several years ago, he came to me, sort of surprised me. Actually, she shocked me when he said, Dad, I've really thought about it. And what I really want to do is I want to go fly jets for the U.S. Navy. And I had to kind of get up out of my chair and go, well, okay. So when I got to learn more about his reasoning and his thought process, I've really come to respect it, and I just really support what he's doing 1,000%. And meeting some of the other, I've been down to Pensacola twice now and spent time with him on base. What those young men and women do is phenomenal, and the as you know, you're a naval aviator,
mm-hmm.
It's the camaraderie, but the quality of the people. That's really what struck me, is the quality of the people. They care about our country. They care about serving. It gives you faith. It gives you great comfort, confidence, knowing that there are young people like this in our country to be there to preserve our freedom. Because, as you know, it's all about freedom and the sacrifice that so many pay to preserve and protect our freedom. And seeing young people like my son and the colleagues that he's working with are just takes your breath away.
Yeah, I tell you, Pensacola is one of my favorite towns, and I still like going back to visit all the different duty stations and training stations I had over the years. And that's another thing that I think veterans underestimate, is the quality of the people that they're serving with on a day-to-day basis. It's really, you always hear, I miss the people more than anything. It really is true. If nothing else, it's being around that like-minded, mission-oriented, mission-focused type individual on a day-to-day basis. And when you get out, that's definitely one of the things you miss the most about it.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I fully identify with that, because, and I think one of the things you said earlier is also spot on, and that is that veterans may not fully appreciate that difference, that sort of special quality that they bring. But I know in the companies that I'm involved in, we go the extra mile trying to find veterans and people who've had that military experience, because they bring so much more to the equation in ways that are a little bit intangible. But they're just those skills, that extra that you find makes all the difference. So it's a big part of the equation, and something that that veterans ought to really have confidence that they bring that. I was talking with a friend recently, and one of the things he's doing, one of my former partners early in my career, is he's helping veterans who are thinking about transitioning from the military into civilian life and getting jobs in business or starting businesses, be able to find ways to translate. That it really is almost a translation of how do I take those skills that I've developed in the military and put those into terms that a civilian business owner, a company will understand, because I've got very relevant skills, but they're almost coded in a different way in the military that's not in the same as civilian speak. So getting it into civilian speak is it's not an easy thing to do, by the way, but it's important.
Oh yeah, we could have multiple podcasts on just that one subject alone there. But hey, Jay, unfortunately, we're getting close to the end of our time here. I would like to give you the last word. Usually what I like to ask the entrepreneurial folks is, if you're talking to that veteran, or even a lot of times it's the spouse of the set that's the entrepreneurial type, whoever's about to get out of the military, maybe they're going through a transition, or they didn't like where they landed on the outside of their transition. They're looking to start their own business, looking to go into entrepreneurship. From your perspective, somebody who hears pitches and sees entrepreneurial types coming to them on a regular basis, from your perspective, what would you tell that veteran out there that's looking to start their own business or get into entrepreneurship?
I think the one critical piece of advice I'd have is not so much about what it is that you'd put in your business plan or how you'd strategize about your business. But I'd say from a veteran's perspective that I would be very confident and in speaking about my military background. In fact, I wouldn't hide it. I wouldn't shy away from it at all. I'd fully embrace it. And I would think of it as not a handicap in any way, but it's really a huge competitive advantage. I'd step into it and think about the ways that my military background has prepared me in ways that are so far superior to the preparation that people who have not had that experience can bear, and think about ways that can be applied in a business setting. And I think what you'll find is that there are a myriad of opportunities out there, and that having the confidence to move forward in a really aggressive way with a spirit of success and advancement and increase, optimism. That's what I've discovered in my business career, is that optimism and a belief that you can make it happen is the key differentiator between success and not success. And so if I had one message for veterans, it would be to embrace their military experience and background and to approach the business world with a sense of optimism and confidence, because you can do it. Other people have, and it is possible, and you can achieve more than anyone in the business you've chosen has ever achieved if you have the confidence to believe in yourself.
All right, outstanding advice, Jay. I appreciate you being here and sharing all your valuable words of wisdom with us. Several different things on the entrepreneurial and consulting side, and also on the nonprofit side of things. So, wish you luck, and wish your son good luck down there in flight school and everything. Tell him we said hello, and we'll call this one a wrap, and we're out for now.
Great. I'll pass that on to Lincoln, my son, and I really thank you for the time.
All right, sounds great. As you can tell from listening to the Veteran on the Move podcast, interviews are a great way to tell your story and spread the word about your business. If you would like to get booked as a podcast guest, I recommend Interview Valet. You can check out Interview Valet at veteranonthemove.com/valet. Be sure to check out Thrive15.com, the world's premier online education platform that helps entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs learn how to start or grow a successful business. Start your free 30-day membership by going to Thrive15.com and use the promo code VETERAN. Thank you for listening to Veteran on the Move, your pathfinder to freedom. If you like the show, leave us a review on iTunes. Reviews are always greatly appreciated. So until next time, this veteran is Oscar Mike.